Hello and welcome. You're watching Race to Power and my name is Mohammed Saleh. And on the show today, legal trouble continues to mount for Donald Trump's former National Security Advisor John Bolton, as he's indicted on 18 counts for retaining and transmitting classified information. Is John Bolton paying the price for being a strident critic of Donald Trump after his sacking by the president during his first term? And in Bangladesh, the deposed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is being tried in absentia. And the prosecutors are seeking nothing less than the death penalty for Sheikh Hasina for perpetrating what they describe as crimes against humanity for her attempts in clamping down the student protests that led to her ouster. But let's of course start with the big story that we are tracking on WION at this hour. The former American National Security Advisor John Bolton has become the latest Donald Trump critic to be hit with criminal charges. A federal grand jury in Maryland has charged Bolton with 18 counts of transmitting and retaining classified information. Now, the 76-year-old veteran who was once served as Trump's former National Security Advisor has been one of the most vocal and strident critics of his administration, especially on questions of foreign policy. Now, the indictment accuses Bolton of sharing top-secret documents by email with two unauthorized individuals who are not identified but are believed to be his wife and daughter. It says that he's shared more than 1,000 pages of the daily life entries about his work as a national security advisor via non-government email or a messaging app. Now, the Justice Department has said that the documents revealed intelligence about the future attacks, foreign adversaries and also foreign policy relations. Each of the count carries a maximum sentence of about 10 years in prison. In a statement to the American media, John Bolton has refuted the charges and has said that he has become the latest target in weaponizing the Justice Department with charges that were declined before or distort the facts. Now, when asked for his reaction to Bolton's indictment, Donald Trump told the reporters that his former aide is actually a bad guy and that's the way it goes.
I think he's a bad guy, yeah. Okay, anybody else?
Now, John Bolton's indictment follows the filing of criminal charges by the Justice Department against two other prominent critics of the Republican president. The New York Attorney General Letitia James and the former later angered the administration with the publication of a very highly critical book, The Room Where It Happened. He has since become a highly visible detractor of Donald Trump, frequently appearing on television news shows and also in print to condemn the man that he has been calling repeatedly as someone who is unfit to be the President of the United States. All right, now joining us on the broadcast, we've got Mr. Richard William Painter, who's an American lawyer and a professor at the University of Minnesota Law School. Mr. William Painter, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, this of course is a case that is going to grab a lot of eyeballs. John Bolton was someone who was a part of Donald Trump's first administration, but now he has been indicted on 18 counts for possessing and transmitting what is deemed to be classified information. Now, John Bolton will say this is just political witch hunting and he's being in many ways victimized for critiquing Donald Trump and calling him to be an unfit man to be the president. What's your take on this?
Well, I've read the charges. I don't know whether the government is going to be able to prove these charges. John Bolton has a long and distinguished career in civil service. When I was the chief White House ethics lawyer for President George W. Bush, John Bolton was in the Bush administration very active, including as our ambassador to the United Nations. He is an arch conservative, very much of a foreign policy hawk. And he fit the Donald Trump mold quite well in the first administration until he disagreed with the president. Now, the problem here isn't just the Bolton indictment, it's these other indictments of political enemies of the president, including James Comey and Attorney General James, the Attorney General of New York, who successfully brought a fraud case against the Trump Organization with a judgment of several $100 million. And the problem is the Justice Department is not using its independent counsel regulations, which are designed for this type of case that's politically charged, where the Justice Department should appoint an independent counsel who is not going to be supervised by political appointees of the president, whether it's an investigation of the president or a member of the president's family or political enemy of the president. The Justice Department should be using the independent counsel statute. And that's what was done in the Biden administration with respect to the investigations and prosecutions of President Trump himself, the prosecution of Hunter Biden, the son of the President of the United States at the time, and indeed the investigation of Joe Biden, the President, for his mishandling of classified information. In all of those cases, independent prosecutors appointed. And that's what the Justice Department should be doing right now to handle these cases, but they're not. And on top of that, we have the President of the United States making public comments about the defendants in each of these cases, attacking the defendants, linking his political attacks to the indictments. And that's something we never had in the Bush administration. Neither President Bush nor anyone else in the Bush White House would ever make public comments about pending criminal cases or criminal investigations. That was a big no-no. As the chief White House ethics lawyer, I made that very clear. No comments on any pending criminal cases. But the Trump administration has abandoned that as well. So this creates the appearance of political prosecution, which is very dangerous, and we cannot have that in a representative democracy.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that this is, in many ways, what is a weaponization of the Justice Department to go against political opponents. But Donald Trump will turn around and say that, listen, I have got nothing to do with this, and the law is just taking its own course. How do you respond to that?
Well, it appears he had everything to do with the indictments in the Northern District of Virginia against James Comey and Attorney General James, because what he did is he fired the prosecutor who refused to bring those indictments and installed a prosecutor who would. And then he went onto social media to talk all about it. So it's very difficult for him to deny involvement with those two indictments. So this indictment of John Bolton up in Maryland, it's quite clear that there's been some involvement of the White House and President Trump. We don't know exactly what. But once again, I mean, for him to turn around and say he's a bad guy, it makes it appear that he had everything to do with this indictment as well.
All right, interesting. We'll have to see as to how this case unfolds. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. William Painter, for joining us with that perspective there.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's now shift our attention to the other big story that we are tracking on Race to Power, and this has got to do with the battle for becoming New York City's mayor that is now heating up. Now, early voting begins next week, and that is on the 25th of October, and the three candidates in the fray participated in a televised debate. Now, the independent candidate, Andrew Cuomo, the Democrat candidate Zohran Mamdani, and the Republican candidate Curtis Silver clashed on several domestic issues and international matters as well. But the burning issue is New York's cost of living crisis, and all three candidates took a bit of a swipe at each other.
I was governor for 11 years. The budget is double what it is in New York City, and I got government to work. I passed groundbreaking laws, minimum wage, paid family leave, built projects that had never been built before. This is no job for on-the-job training.
I have the experience of being a New Yorker, someone who has actually paid rent in the city before I ran for mayor, someone who has had to wait for a bus that never came, someone who actually buys his groceries in this same city. And what all of that experience has shown me, which Mr. Cuomo can't seem to understand, is that it is far too expensive and far too hard for New Yorkers to afford to live in this city.
Thank God I'm not a professional politician, because they have helped create this crime crisis in the city that we face, and I will
Thank you, Mr.
resolve.
Sliwa.
Now, there will be a second round of debate next week before voting opens. Several polls have put Mamdani to be in a comfortable position as the front-runner, with a two-digit lead over his main political rival, that is Andrew Cuomo, who, believe it or not, is running again as an independent. All right, now joining us on the broadcast, we've got our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who's joining us live from New York. Susan, this has got to be the most high-profile mayoral election anywhere in the world. So the three candidates have had a debate. Tell us who's come out on top and what are the issues they were talking about.
Yeah, Mohammed, you're absolutely right. This is a local election for New York, but the world was really watching. First of all, because really it shows because of Zohran Mamdani, and he's a self-proclaimed Democrat socialist, he's a Muslim, and he's leading the polls. And if he gets elected, many believe that that is going to be the face of the Democrat Party moving forward, the new face of the Democrat Party. Now, we know Andrew Cuomo was a former Democrat. He's running as an independent now because of this election. But nonetheless, it appears that, as you mentioned, the issue of cost of living, housing, the Israel-Gaza conflict, and also moving forward, how New York plans to deal with ICE raids and President Trump's administration, those were all on the agenda. Zohran Mamdani in the latest Quinnipiac poll, the first one that came out after the debate, continues to have a very strong lead. The margin is a little less after Eric Adams, the current mayor, dropped out between Mamdani and Cuomo, and Curtis Sliwa continues to lag behind with about 15% of voters supporting him here in New York. But nonetheless, unless Sliwa drops out, many believe that this election is over and it's going to be handed to Mamdani. But nonetheless, Andrew Cuomo has made clear that he's the right choice. He played last night on his experience. Zohran Mamdani played on his individuality, as we saw in the soundbite, of being a New Yorker and connecting with today's New Yorkers. And so, we'll have to wait and see. But the thing is, it doesn't seem like after last night's debate, anyone changed their mind. There wasn't that big moment, really, from either candidates. Everyone, at least those that we've asked and those who have been polled, they stayed where they are.
Interesting. Thank you very much indeed, Susan Tehrani, for joining us with all those updates there. All right, let's now shift our attention to what is happening in Pakistan. While Pakistan's Prime Minister was nominating American President Donald Trump for nothing less than the Nobel Peace Prize in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, the Pakistani security forces were hunting and killing the Pakistani protesters back home who are demanding nothing more than an opportunity to stage a protest in front of the American embassy in Islamabad. Now, some of this footage is simply too gory to be even aired on television. Even sensitized, these images could be disturbing for some viewers. Now, the media outlet Dropsite, starting a Pakistani law enforcement official, has reconstructed as to what actually happened during the Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan protest on Sundays. The protesters reached Murid Ke near Lahore. They were funneled towards a predetermined area. The protesters were then trapped on both sides. The TLP leaders wanted to negotiate for a de-escalation, but these demands were ignored. The police and a contingent of the Pakistani Rangers then closed in, as you can see in some of these images that are now doing the rounds. In the early hours of Monday morning, the Rangers then started firing, and this went on for several hours. The videos have shown protesters crying in the streets, screaming for help, besides a dead body. Another video shows two policemen pursuing and shooting at a running man. Another video shows a police vehicle trying to run over the protesters as shots rang out in the background. Reports suggest that the crackdown was planned well in advance. Now, this was some sort of a trap that was laid out for the protesters, where they were all funneled into a certain position, and then this is what the treatment that was meted out for them. In fact, it is now being reported through sources that days before the protester meeting was held at the ISI headquarters in Islamabad, where a senior general directed the Lahore sector commander to instigate a TLP march towards Islamabad. The plan included stopping the procession en route and then using what is being described as lethal force to deter any future protests. Now, the crackdown was covered on Pakistani media, including an interview where a local man who claimed that he saw more than 600 dead bodies. Now, such a claim would never be aired on the network without the approval from the military, indicating that it is the Pakistani military that wants to send a message to the people of Pakistan against staging any more protests. Now, this is also supported by the fact that the TLP has mostly enjoyed tactical support from the army in the past. The seeds for the Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan had been laid after a police commander was shot dead, the then Punjab governor Salman Taseer, in 2011 over an alleged case of blasphemy. Now, Khadim Hussain Rizvi has voiced support for the commando and then launched the TLP to champion such causes. Now, this outfit gained prominence with protests against Punjab and also the Pakistani governments. In 2020, it had been banned for protesting against the satirical French magazine Charlie Hebdo and the French government. The Pakistani army had mediated a secret pact between Imran Khan's government and TLP at the time. This chapter was seen as the beginning of a brewing comradeship between the army and the TLP, which seemed to have lasted until the current anti-Israeli protests. Incidentally, the crackdown on the TLP came at a point when Pakistan's top leadership was bending over backwards in order to try and appease the American President Donald Trump in Sharm el-Sheikh.
I would like to nominate this great president for Nobel Peace Prize. Mr. President, I would like to salute you.
All right, so that was Shehbaz Sharif there, stating that he wants to do nothing but salute to Donald Trump. The Pakistan's top leadership has presented the American leader with rare earth minerals and has also repeatedly been nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize. And all this while, it has been executing a deadly reprisal against its own people who were staging a protest against the Pakistani government for selling out on Donald Trump's Gaza plan. The prosecutors in Bangladesh are seeking the death penalty for the ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, as the leader at this moment is being tried in absentia. The case involves charges of crimes against humanity during the mass uprising last year that forced her to flee from the country. Now, Sheikh Hasina has defied court orders to return from India, where she had fled last year, to face the charges of ordering a deadly crackdown in a failed attempt to crush the student-led uprising. According to the United Nations, up to 1,400 people were killed in the clashes between July and August 2024. The prosecution has alleged that 78-year-old Hasina was the nucleus around whom all the crimes had been committed during the July-August uprising. The chief prosecutor has demanded for nothing but the highest punishment for her, saying that one death penalty is the rule for committing a single murder. And for 1,400 murders, she should be sentenced 1,400 times. Those are his words. Now, Sheikh Hasina is being tried in absentia alongside two former senior officials. Her ex-interior minister Asaduzzaman Khan Kamal is also a fugitive, while the former police chief Chaudhry Abdullah Al-Mamoon is in custody and has pleaded guilty. The prosecution said on Thursday that Kamal should also face the death penalty. The trial, which opened the 1st of June, has heard months of testimony alleging Hasina's role in ordering or failing to prevent mass killings. The prosecutors have filed 5 charges, including the failure to prevent murder, which amounts to crimes against humanity under Bangladeshi law. Hasina's now banned Awami League has said that she categorically denies the charges. Hasina, already convicted in July for contempt of court and sentenced in absentia to 6 months in prison, also faces ongoing corruption cases. The Bharatiya Janata Party government in Gujarat has appointed a new cabinet with 26 ministers, including Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel. The development has come just a day after the entire cabinet, barring the Chief Minister, submitted its resignation, and Governor Acharya Devvrat administered the oath to 26 ministers, including to the Chief Minister. The State Home Minister Harsh Sanghvi was sworn in as the Deputy Chief Minister, and cricketer Ravindra Jadeja's wife Rivaba Jadeja was inducted as a minister of the 26 ministers, and only 6 from the old team have been retained, while 10 were dropped and 19 have been inducted afresh. Now, Harsh Sanghvi took the oath first, marking his formal elevation as a Deputy Chief Minister, a position held by only 5 others in Gujarat's political history. Now, Gujarat has seen only about 5 Deputy Chief Ministers since its formation: Chiman Patel and Kantilal Ghia in 1972, Keshubhai Patel in 1990, Narhari Amin in 1994, and then Nitin Patel in the former Chief Minister Vijay Rupani's era. And amongst the notable inductees is Rivaba Jadeja, the wife of cricketer Ravindra Jadeja and the MLA from Jamnagar North. Now, Rivaba was associated with the Rajput organization Karni Sena before formally entering into politics. She joined the Bharatiya Janata Party in 2019 and became active in the Jamnagar Saurashtra region. In the 2022 Gujarat Assembly elections, she contested from the Jamnagar North constituency and won by a margin of 50,000 votes. Her husband Ravindra Jadeja had campaigned for her during the polls, drawing massive crowds in support. The cabinet reshuffle is as much a political statement as an administrative move, as the Bharatiya Janata Party has laid the groundwork for the 2027 elections. And our principal correspondent Disha Shah has sent us this report. Listen in.
The state of Gujarat saw its new cabinet formation today under the leadership of Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel. We saw the oath-taking ceremony taking place in Gandhinagar, where 26 ministers took oath in the new cabinet. The biggest talking point is that this has been one of the biggest reshuffles that the state has seen since 2021. It's the biggest political shift that we are looking at, because for the very first time the state has roped in 19 new faces as ministers to lead the state, and 6 have been retained from the previous cabinet. This has been done, the government says so, because they want to script a very powerful agenda, powerful people ahead of the 2027 assembly elections, where they want a mix of experienced leaders as well as new talent from diverse backgrounds. Another talking point is also that the new cabinet includes 3 women ministers as well. At the end of the day, we will also see that all the ministers will be allocated different portfolios, and then we will have to see as to from when they start taking the new role. With video journalist Siddesh, this is Disha Shah reporting here for WION from Mumbai.
The Mexican authorities say that a suspected crime group launched a drone packed with nails and metal fragments at the State Attorney General's office in Tijuana, just across the border from California. The explosive hit near the anti-kidnapping unit, damaging several cars, but no one was hurt. We'll leave you with these images. Thanks for watching Race to Power.
Yes, we do have information. We also have intelligence information. We know where may be exposed and from which side these attacks could come. Yet, it's reserved information.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS Centenary Year, Kesariya at 100.
As people across the world celebrate the Festival of Lights, we get you a list of movies you can watch this Diwali season, along with a festive style guide that you can take cues from. Also know all about Hayao Miyazaki's timeless films of Ghibli universe. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yowon.com.
This Diwali week, in the spirit of illumination and discovery, we're exploring a house at the bottom of the ocean. We're boarding a ship to Antarctica. We're taking a ride on hydrogen-powered race cars. We're discovering hidden secrets that lie beneath layers of paint on Caravaggio's paintings. And we're taking a virtual tour of browsers powered by AI. All this and more on Tech It Out, only on WION at these times.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
War is over, okay? You understand that? This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
The best day of my life.
Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House. Mr. President, you are committed to this peace. I am committed to this peace for their great contribution to this effort.
Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look as to what is making headlines at this hour. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky meets with Donald Trump at the White House, seeking the American-manufactured Tomahawk missiles, even as the American president readies for a fresh summit with Russia's Vladimir Putin.